Do you want to automatically reply to your customers' feedback without writing a single email manually? In this video, I will show you how to build a no-code automation using Google Forms and Make.com that sends personalized email replies based on the feedback that was submitted. If you want to streamline your business processes, then you should stay tuned and watch this video until the end. So first, what we want to do is basically we want to create a simple Google form which will be used by our customers to submit their feedback. And if you go to docs.google.com, then what you can do is you can click on this button to create a brand new Google form. So let's give a title to this form. Let's call it a feedback form. You can basically list the name of your business, or you can call it anything that you like. And then we're going to add some simple questions or some simple fields for information that we want to collect from the customers. So once we have added the name field, then we can proceed with adding another field. This one will be email, and we're going to make this a required field as well. So we're going to add two more fields which we're going to request our customers to populate, or two more questions. So the next one is going to be, how was your experience? And this will be basically a multiple choice question. So we can say that the first option is excellent, and as you can see, Google Forms actually gave us a few suggestions. So we can just click on this button and you can see that all the suggestions are now basically our answers. So we should make this required as well. And finally, we want to add a free text field so that the customers can basically write any feedback that they want. So we can ask them a question, what could we improve? And yeah, this will be converted into a paragraph, and we can say that this is also required. So now that we have added these four fields, I guess we have our simple form ready to go. And what we need to do is basically we need to publish this form so that it becomes available to make.com, and basically we'll be in a position to integrate it into our automated pipeline. So let's click on this button, and basically it's going to publish the form. Once we have published the form, we need to click on this button, and after this we would like to copy the link from here so that we can actually go to the form and submit it later on once we have created our automated pipeline. So now that we have created our feedback form in Google Forms, what we need to do next is we need to create an empty Google Sheet in Google Drive. So I've already created a blank template which we can use. So you can go to drive.google.com, create an empty Google Sheet, and let me show you what columns I've added into this basically sample sheet. You can see that we have name, email, how was your experience, and what could we improve. As you can guess, the data that gets submitted through the Google Forms is going to be added to this Google Sheet. And this is because we want to have some trace or some sort of a way to retrieve all the feedback that was submitted by our customers. So once you have created this Google Sheet, the next step would be to go to make.com and actually create the automated pipeline. So if you don't have an account in make.com, you can sign up using the link down in the description. It's completely free and you don't need to pay for anything. You get around 1,000 free operations per month, so you can experiment before you decide to basically upgrade to a paid plan. And yeah, so once you are in your account, what you need to do is you need to click on this button to create a new scenario. And from here, we're going to basically build the whole pipeline. So the first component which we want to use is going to be Google Forms. And yeah, so when you type Google Forms, you're going to get all the options which come from Google Forms. And the option that we want to choose is basically this one. So as you can see, it gives you some description about what this component is doing. So in our case, this is going to be triggered when a new response is received. And this is exactly what we need. So basically, whenever a customer fills in the Google form, this component is going to be triggered. So let's go ahead and select this. And what you need to do is you need to create a new Google connection if this is the first time that you're using your Make account, or if this is the first time that you're using this component. And after this, you need to find the form which we created earlier. And to do that, you just need to click on this search button, then click on OK. So this is going to give you all the Google Forms that are currently present in your account. And if you remember, we created this form, feedback form, so you can just click on it and it's going to automatically populate the form ID. So in terms of limits, we can just say that the limit is 1. So as you can see, this is basically how many forms to process at any given time. So in our case, we can just set it to 1 because we're just testing the system. And yeah, so we want to listen for any new form submissions from now on. So that's the default option. And then we can click on save. After this, what we want to do is we want to add a new component, which will be Google Sheets. And we want to use this option to add a new role. So let's select this. And yeah, so from here, what we want to choose is basically we want to find the Google Sheet, which we created just a moment ago. And yeah, so let's go ahead and find it by clicking on this button. So this is where my Google form is located. And yeah, you need to find the folder where you created your Google form on your side. After this, we need to select the sheet name. This is going to be sheet 1. And as you can see, it automatically reads the headers of the file. So you can see now we have name, email, how was your experience, and what could we improve. So what we need to do next is basically we need to map the answers from the Google form into the column names from our Google Sheet. And if you select this first input box, you can see we get a bunch of options. And our first column in the Google Sheet is called name. So we need to map the name field into it. So if we expand the name, we go to text answers, and then we basically select the value from here. And we need to repeat the same process in order to extract all the answers from the Google form for the other columns that we have. So let's go ahead and do this. So let's extract the email. Then we can extract the next one, which is how was your experience. So let's do this. And finally, we want to do the same for the question, what could we improve? So let's go ahead and do this. And yeah, so once you have allocated or once you have done all the mappings between the Google form and the Google Sheet, finally you click on the save button. So the next step is to actually ask OpenAI to write an email for us, which we can use later on to send it to our customers. So let's go ahead and search for OpenAI. And from here, we want to expand this, and we would like to use this component, which is create a completion. So let's select this. So what you need to do is you need to create a new OpenAI connection. If you don't have a connection yet, then you can follow the guidelines which are provided on make.com on how to do this, or you can watch one of my previous videos where I go into detail about how to create a new connection. So let me see, I've got a bunch of connections and I believe one of them is working. So yeah, so there you go. And after this, we want to basically select a method. By default, it's going to pick up the most recent method, which actually works. So after this, we want to select the model that we want to use. And in our case, we want to use GPT-4o Mini. So let's just scroll down a little bit. And you can see this model, GPT-4o Mini. So let's select this. And next it's going to give us the actual option to add a message. So let's click on this button and let's select that this will be a system role or a developer role. And yeah, so now we want to use a prompt and ask OpenAI to write a personalized email for us. So I've already prepared the prompt, so let me just copy and paste it, and then we can take a look at it and see how it looks. So this is the prompt, which is you're a helpful assistant for a small business. Your task is to generate a short, friendly, and professional email response to customer feedback. So you can see that at the bottom of our prompt, there are three different placeholders, and we need to populate them with some actual data. So the first one is customer name. So let's click here, and then we need to map the customer name placeholder to the actual name of the customer who submitted the form. And again, let's expand this and find the value. And we need to repeat the same process for the customer experience and the customer feedback. So once we have mapped the placeholders to actual data, the next step is to save this component. And the final component that we need to define is the component which is responsible for sending emails. So if you type email, then you will see that there is a built-in component, and from here you choose the option to send an email. So I already have an existing SMTP connection, which we can use for the purpose of sending emails. So what you need to do is you need to click on this add button. And after this, it's going to ask you which connection type you want to choose from. So you probably want to pick the first option, which is others SMTP. And after this, you can select an email provider which you want to use. I would recommend using this email provider, which is Zoho Mail. And this is because they have a very quick and easy setup on their platform. So you can see all the different pricing options which are on their website. So if you go to zoho.com, then you can see that you can get an email box for less than £1 a month. And yeah, so once you have an account with them, then you can just select this option. And then what you need to do is basically you need to type in your email address. And after this, you need to provide the username and the password and click save. So let's go ahead and populate all the necessary fields for this component to work. So in our case, we want to get the email address of the person who actually submitted the Google form. So we can get this from the email field in the Google form. So let's go ahead and fetch this. So we can basically type the subject of the email. We can say, thank you for the feedback. So the content type of the email is going to be plain text, and this is because what we're going to write here is going to come from the response from OpenAI. And yeah, so if you click on this option, so we need to select the result from OpenAI, and this is going to be the personalized email that OpenAI is going to write for us. And finally, what we need to do is we need to click on the Save button. At this point, we have our fully automated pipeline ready to go. So just to recap what it's doing. So the first component is watching for responses from Google Forms. So as soon as a customer submits their feedback, then this is going to be triggered just to notify the pipeline that there is a form that was submitted. After this, all the information from the Google form is going to be added to a Google Sheet. And after this, what is going to happen is OpenAI is going to generate a personalized email based on the feedback that was received. And finally, we're going to send this personalized email back to the customer. So let's go ahead and populate our Google form. So first, what we need to do is we need to write our name. After this, we need to populate our email address. So I've created a testing email address. And what we're going to say next is about our experience, which is going to be the last option that I've already selected. And we want to type in a message about what we could improve. So let's say that the delivery was late and I couldn't reach support. So once we have everything populated, what we want to do is we want to submit this Google form. So let's click on this button. And at this point, the form was submitted. Now, if we go back to our make.com scenario, and if we run this, then we should see that this pipeline is going to be triggered and hopefully it will finish successfully. So let's click on this button and see what happens. As you can see, the full pipeline was triggered. And now we need to do two checks. The first check would be to take a look at our Google Sheet just to see if the feedback form was successfully processed and we have successfully extracted all the necessary information and we've added all of this into our Google Sheet. So let's click on our Google Sheet. And as you can see, as soon as I opened the tab, it automatically refreshed and it populated the Google Sheet with the data from our Google form. The next test would be to actually go to our email box and just ensure that we've received the email. So as you can see, we actually got an email. So let's click on this and see how it looks. So you can see that we got a very nice and formatted email, which is very personalized based on the feedback that we provided in the Google form. If you want to get access to all the templates and all the resources for this video and for any of my previous videos, you can join my school community. The link should be down below in the description. It's completely free and you don't need to pay for anything. Thank you very much for your time and see you in the next video.